My name is Chun Jiang. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called Monterey AI. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about like myself, about the company, which in Monterey AI, we call it a co-pilot for product insights. And then I'm going to share some like questions that I've been asking myself all the time in my mind about like AI design product in general. So I want to keep this like super interactive and engaging. So feel free to like raise your hand and ask questions anytime. This is me. To summarize my whole career experience with like 3 emojis, it's pretty straightforward actually. So I came from kind of like urban design, architecture design background in school. And then I did a CS because I think that was cool. It's cool to generate some architecture, kind of like urban planning without drawing or manually building things, right? And then that's when I started learning more about like human and computer like interaction. The first job I got after graduating from college was designing the simulation system and machine learning system at Uber's self-driving department. And since then, I've been very drawn to this kind of like chaotic design process that you need to think about the environment, about the human, about the machine, about the data, and trying to come up with the best like product experience for it. And after that, I joined a company called like Scale AI. When it was like pretty small, like startup, and we were trying to design the best like experience for humans to help the engineers understand like, hey, is your model generated annotation correct or not? And after that, I joined another even smaller startup. We were doing this kind of large scale geospatial analytics and visualization. So yeah, Earth, car, robot, and now we're trying to build this kind of co-pilot for product insights. We're super small, 4-people team, almost like 1 year old. We're serving companies like DreamWorks, Comcast, and now we're also working with like Figma, trying to see how the product analytics look like for the next generation. So I'm sure you heard about this sentence a lot, like in the company when you think about, hey, what are the features we should improve? Which aspects of the product should we focus on for next quarter? So when we're thinking about like building a product, I think it is like running a restaurant, because like you want to become a chef that can tailor your dishes or cuisine to every customers. So everyone like loves your dishes, but at the same time you wanted to optimize the cost and optimize the sales for the restaurant. So like running a product or designing a product is the same. We keep asking ourselves like 2 questions. First is like, are we making data-driven decisions? And the second is simply just like, what are customers saying? So I'm sure like when you all like are product builders building some features, you wanted to have the data to help you back your like gut feeling, back your assumptions. That's where you go to like data scientist, engineer team, go to like customer experience team, asking like, hey, can I have a report for all the people, like what are people saying about our product, about a feature? And that decision-making process happens really fast, but the data gathering process is like really long. We wanted to make that easy. So I wanted to use like one of our customer Comcast as an experience, as like example. I'm sure all of you here probably experienced like the outage here and there from Comcast and Xfinity. And then when we were talking with their product team and the customer experience team, it's like they're super caring people. They really spend a lot of time like reading through all the feedback, support tickets, trying to identify how they can improve the service and improve the product. But like reading through thousands and millions of data points is like impossible for a human being to do. And that's where we came in. So what we do is like we start aggregating all the different qualitative and unstructured data from all the different data sources, including your social media, including your sales tools, including like directly like Snowflake database, Zendesk, Slack, all of that. So we help the team to aggregate the data together and then start like triaging to different teams. I know a lot of you like probably working on very like specific product in the company, and sometimes like you don't want to see the data that are not relevant to you. So at that time, we help the team to triage the kind of data points to the right stakeholder, right team, and most recent time. And then the second thing is like Well, here I actually can move into the demo. So I can't really show the data on like a real like customer, but this is kind of a demo data set we have for Spotify. So here you can see like all the reviews that people have about Spotify from the Apple Store or Google Play Store. And when you come here, we help the team output this kind of continuous like structure report to help you identify what are the top like themes under feature requests, bug reports, questions, and appreciations. And then if you're an engineer, you come in here and say, oh, there are a lot of people talking about cannot upgrade to like iOS like 17, or there are a lot of asynchronization between like audio or video. So all of that issues will be kind of like delivered to you right away. And then at the same time, you can also see kind of distribution and then what are the raw data that we use to produce these kind of clusters. And then this is kind of like helping the team to uncover the blind spots or like urgent issues right away. And then it's like product builders, most of the times, we have our own product ideas and product bets, and then we want to find the data, whether it's like quantitative or qualitative, to support the ideas. So that's where our kind of like chat function, I should think about a better name for this. There's also a great way of like, I'll touch a little bit later, but I think there are a lot of opportunities for the UX writing or terming there for designer to come up for this kind of new type of interactions with like AI and the tool itself. So coming here, back to like when you wanted to find the data to support your ideas, you can ask questions like, hey, what are the top opportunities for this section of the product? What are the top feedback on like subscription? Why do users recommend the product to others? And you can come here directly ask the questions. And what we do is that we're gonna go find the most like relevant data across like all the data sources, and then return that for you, generate a summary for you, and you know like, hey, this is why people are recommending our product to others. These are users' top like feedback on subscription. These are what their like pain points. And then you can treat this as like really like your colleague or like co-pilot, and to ask like questions as high level as you want, or also like as granular as you want. So that's what we do from like high level. I guess another thing to quickly touch here is that for the last decade, there are a lot of social listening platforms that are tracking like what are people saying about brands or like CPG industry across like social medias. And then you see a lot of people talking about sentiment analysis or like keyword expression. You go to like Google Map, you see, hey, this restaurant, a lot of people talking about vibe, or a lot of people talking about pasta. So it's really not helpful when you are wanting to use that for your product development. So we wanted to kind of like really unlock the actionable insights for you, so everyone in the team can have the access to the data right away. This is kind of like an overview of what our product does. Some thoughts when I was like thinking about designing tools or designing products in general. So I know like there has been a lot of talks about, hey, is the AI gonna like take over designer's job or engineer's job or everyone's job? We don't know, like in probably 20, 30 days, what is that gonna look like? But for designers or for like product builders, I think we sometimes underestimate ourselves of human decisions or like human simulations. Like for example, when I have the water here, right? Like where you put the water is actually a design decision. I don't want to put it there too far, so like I cannot reach it, but I also don't want to like to put it too close, so I knock it off. So there are a lot of like human interactions like in the world or in the product itself. It's like only humans can understand. And I think like AI in general, it will take over all the work you don't want it to do. It will help you to like do things you could not do, like doing data analysis of that. But there's so much more that we are underestimating ourselves, and should just like unlock that part of ourselves. And then another example I want to quickly touch here is that when I was designing like Monterey AI with like our team, I always reference like my experience like at Uber or doing like self-driving industry in general as an example. So here, what you see here is like how to like visualize a car. So the left like picture here is like how to visualize like car for labelers, for human annotators. In that sense, because we wanted to design the whole experience like for them to annotate the car like better. And then engineers wanted to know like what is the IOU, what is like the common like area between machine generated annotation between like human annotation look like. So engineers and human laborers are like our audience. And then coming into this kind of simulation system is like totally designed for engineers. And then so we need to find a way to like visualize how the car is interacting with the map with like other objects in the world. So like the audience is like engineers. And if you are riding like self-driving car in the city, in San Francisco right now, you see like the experience that they designed for riders is totally different. They got rid of all the unnecessary like data and objects there. But at the same time, they focus on like, hey, this is the pickup point. This is the name of the car. This is like your ETA. So I think it's the same when you are building or using like AI tool. Like think about who's the audience and think about what is the way to design and build that trust between the tool and your audience is always going to be the key. So Jordan mentioned something about like what would be something that not going to change for the next decade. I do think like trust and empathy and how to productionize that, how to design that will be the key that only like we can do it as a human. So another thing like I want to quickly talk about is this kind of like design process. So yesterday I actually like my POC at Figma sent me, shout out to Michael, leading voice of customers there. But he sent me this like article or long PDF about like design process. And then I started reading it. And then you will be like fascinated about like how design process has been evolving from like 1970 to now. And then you see a lot of people posting about really different scenarios of how design should be. And the only design process I know is like Double Diamond, right? But you will see like how design process is like evolving along the side of like technology. And now with like AI popping up, we haven't got to that stage yet of seeing like, hey, this might be the design process that would be really good for every company to adopt. And I think that's like just like great opportunities for all the product builders to think through it. Yeah. And then another thing I'll quickly talk about is like AI agent. I'm not sure how many of you hear about this term like all the time right now. And a lot of people will be like, hey, like with all this tool, we can design our own software now. And like with designer, we can code now. Or product managers like, hey, I don't even need designer or software engineer. I can use like no code, low code, or just build some prototype to bring things from end to end. It's really fun to play out. Right? I think that it's really fun just like first to play around all these tools. But at the same time, I do think the evolvement will be from AI agent to like AI advisor. So what is the best way like for us to bring like our best like knowledge into the AI instead of like expecting AI to finish very specific task for you? I think that will be the next like step of how AI agent or interaction with AI gonna look like. So for our tool, maybe one day we will tell you like, hey, we noticed there are a couple of things run about your product in this like logging flow. Can we get access into your GitHub, recover like code and tell you like, hey, this might be something you should look at. And then they're having 10 people talking about this issue and should solve that right away. So I think the next generation of like AI copilot gonna be something like giving you the best advice and help you stay on top of like all the system records all the time. The last piece I wanted to share here is like I haven't had really concrete thought about this, but I do think there are gonna be like evolving roles and shared responsibility across the company. Because right now you have this like awesome AI generative tools to help you unlock the things that you couldn't do before. So data analysis, coding, generates user research like scripts, and then synthesizing and recognizing what the people say on the social media. So what does that mean for job or like for roles in the company? Does that mean like everyone gonna eventually taking one project, one feature from like end to end? Or does that mean like people can just like hack the product together using all this like a very cool AI tools and think about what's the best way to put that into production? So I think there's going to be a lot of change of what is product design, what is UI UX design, what is like software engineers for the next 5 years. I don't have an answer there, but I think it's super exciting for someone like a generalist like me, because I want to get things like moved, get things deployed, and getting things used by the consumers and to see what they say about it. So I believe this is everything on talk here. And you should definitely try our product. This is our QR code. I'm not sure what's the link behind it. But Monterey.ai. And follow me, text me, whatever you need. I'm like Chun Online, the same handler across all the social media. And I'm excited to see everyone on our platform. The thing I use the most probably is like ChatGPT, to be honest. And then the most use case for me is like I usually write a really long stuff, and I'm like, hey, can you fit that into the character limit of like Twitter or LinkedIn and make it like go viral or make it sound really smart? So that's like one use case of like ChatGPT for me. And the second is still marketing, because like I also need to do marketing for our company. And when we have kind of like release logs or like release notes, I think like, hey, can you make it this like very engaging, make this like storytelling? So of that. And I definitely play around with a lot of generative like AI, like art tools. So like Midjourney, of that, just for fun. I have my CTO here, so Ben, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, so for like one data point being like one app review or depending on the size, it probably takes like a few seconds, but obviously we do a lot of stuff in batch and parallel. So it really depends on the data volume and the source oftentimes, because we're pulling from like APIs or, third-party sources, getting like CSV uploads. But it's relatively fast for ingesting data.
We do work with like customers one by one, or enterprise customers one by one, because they have a list of very clear like product areas and like focus areas. And then what we do is like, hey, can you give me one sentence description of like what your product area mean? And can you give me one or two like feedback, example feedback on all of that? So we use that context to improve like our classification performance. And then at the same time, we do like use every interactions that users have in our tool to improve like the next like retraining of the model. So for example, if they see this classification is like wrong and they correct it, we'll take that into the action. If they generate the like themes to edit it, or if they hide it, we will also like tracking that interaction, so we know like, okay, this generated theme is like less relevant for them. But like it's actually our like Q3, Q4 focus, because I do want to find like even more ways to passively see what are the behaviors that they take in our tools can help us improve that performance. Feature-wise, for the chat that I just showed, like for us, it's like a search problem. We're not really like just using the GPT 3.5 to generate answer based on whoever we know, whoever that knows. So what we do is that we go find the relevant data for you and then generate a summary for you. So if we don't find like any feedback or data, we just tell the users right away, sorry, we are not confident to give you answer, or we didn't like find any data. So that's the first thing we do. And the second thing that I do find like it's really important to give the evidence for the users, telling them like, hey, this is how we generate this result. So when I was showing this kind of structure report, for each thing, we tell the user that, hey, these are all the data we use to generate that. These are the highlighted words that we think are relevant to what you are asking. So giving the users a lot of like control and visibility into how we are clustering, we're generating for that. So that's another way like we build trust there. And the third way is more just like from understanding when we ask them, because like sometimes users that trust your platform, but they want a more granular insights. But some companies, they want even like higher level insights. So understanding like what is the right amount of like level of granularity, that's the hardest part. And that is not like an AI problem. It's like a human interaction problem there. Ask about like ambiguity there, right? We actually think about a really cool feature because a lot of time users will tell you like, hey, your tool sucks, or like, I don't like it, of that. So if we identify this like very vague feedback or fake like data point, we could just tell the user research teams like, hey, these are the users that you should go talk to. And we can automatically generate some questions saying, like, hey, can you tell us more? So I think that's also some actions that not like companies that don't have the resource to do that, and that can be delegated to AI. One analogy I can think of is, so if there are like a lot of users saying like, hey, I cannot log in, and the insight would be like, engineers, you should go in through the login process, right? And then if you give that to engineers, no one's gonna know what to do with that login experience. And that's the time you need to go into like support logs, into kind of like support tickets, and to see what are the actions that people are clicking on the website. So those are the facts. For me, it's more like evidence. So like, if you want to know whether the insights is like right or wrong, you need the facts and evidence to support that. And that's the reason like we tell the user, these are the data we use to generate the cluster, generate the theme. I don't think it's really fair just like giving insights to like team members saying like, go work on that. Because like giving more data is like giving more confidence. If your team member feel more confident about like the decision by looking into the raw feedback, that is like create more collaborative environment.